It's cool. They're all good. So I'm here with
Awesome.
writer and content creator Josh Terry, and Josh is going to share with us what financial decision, Josh, has had the greatest impact in your life.
Um, Giving up on the big stuff. That was the biggest one. I hit a really low point in my life around 25, as is so common for a lot of people, where I was living paycheck to paycheck, and I was in lots of debt, and I was struggling to just stay afloat. And I had a lot of big dreams. Um, I wanted to shoot for the stars. I actually wanted to be a rock star. Like that was the direction that I wanted my life to head. And I was so caught up in looking after it, that chasing that I wasn't handling my day-to-day life. I wasn't taking care of really, really simple things. And the it's a tricky trap that I think a lot of people fall for, where we hear a lot of inspiring messages about how you want to shoot for the stars and aim high and have big dreams and all of these things. And it's true, you do, because that keeps the flame alive in some ways. It gives you hope, it gives you excitement. But if you're staring at that flame, you're gonna be like, a moth and fly right into it and die. You can't just be completely obsessed with your dreams. And that was the position I was in. And you really don't see yourself doing it when you're going through that process. I didn't see myself doing it, but it cost me a lot. It cost me my finances, it cost me my friends, it cost me my mental health, it cost me my physical health, all of the above. Being too hyper focused on the big stuff. And I see this happening with a lot of people that want to get rich. So people that are really focused on making the big bucks. And eventually, when I hit this low point in my life, I realized, as much as I wanted these big dreams to come about, as much as I wanted the big bucks, I was afraid that I was going to eat dog food when I was 65. I was afraid that I was going to retire penniless. I was afraid of homelessness. I was afraid that I was going to, barely manage for my entire life. That was a fear that was haunting me, even though I was obsessing about these big things. And that fear is kind of debilitating for a lot of people. For some people, it pushes them. For some people, it inspires them to work harder. For me, it inspired me to work so hard that I was a workaholic, and that doesn't help. So it depends on the person. And for me, those fears were very damaging. And I realized I needed to face them, and I needed to figure out how to not eat dog food when I was 65. And so my in to financial well-being, my into learning about finances and learning all of the fundamentals that extrapolate out, was basic, simple, boring retirement investing. I started taking care of those basics. And I started taking care of paying off my student loans. Those were the only two goals that I had, and the first goal was paying off the student loans, because, like, when I learned about it, I weighed the decisions, and I realized that debt for me is it makes me incapable. It feels like a lead weight holding me down. So I decided to focus on paying off the debt. And before I realized that I was stuck on these big dreams, paying off that debt felt terrible. It felt like shame, because I thought, oh, I should go be famous and make a lot of money and then pay it off with one check, right? And it's really easy to have that, like, fantasy in your mind. Like, I mean, it's the ultimate, like, Hollywood fantasy of, oh, I'll fix that when I make it big, right? And you never do, because the thing that gets you to make it big is fixing all of the little things, right? So I gave up on that fantasy, and I realized how rough my life was and how much of a success it would be to make a small payment on my student loan. So, like, the first month, it was like an extra $5, beyond the minimum, and, like, that's what I could manage. And it slowly snowballed as I got my life together. That became a success instead of a moment of shame, right? So I paid off that $5, and I didn't feel bad about it. I actually was like, oh, that's where you should be. Like, that's reasonable. Your life sucks. You were in a bad place. You succeeded. Great. And then, that gives you enough positive emotion to do something more. So that enabled me to snowball it to expand out until I'd paid off my debt. And then I started retirement investing. And the interesting thing about retirement investing is that within it are all of the fundamental principles of building wealth. Um, maybe not all of them, like maybe not sales, right? Maybe sales isn't specifically within retirement investing, but a very large portion of the fundamentals required to build wealth, uh, like basically you can't build wealth without that knowledge. There might be some missing pieces to get really rich, outside of retirement investing, but you can't get really rich without knowing some of these things, or you can't keep it without knowing some of these things that are within retirement investing. So that taught me the fundamentals, and then from there I was less afraid. I no longer feared homelessness. I had an emergency fund. The stupid boring basics, and I understood that I could build a life for myself. And once I did that, my anxiety started to reduce. I started to feel more hopeful about the world. I started to, take care of other random little things in my life that I was leaving to the side. Like my house got cleaner, right? I just like my I changed the address on my driver's license like I was supposed to. These little things that, when you're financially anxious, you let slip. And all of that simple, all of those simple acts was what supported me, gave me the strength, the hope, and the knowledge to start extrapolating out and, doing more of what I'm doing now, and seeing what actually is possible. And I think that this is a message that a lot of people are missing. I see a lot of kids that are very bored by the idea of something like retirement investing or paying off your student loans. And what I always say is, it's not about the student loan. It's not about the retirement investing. It's about what doing that will teach you, what it will make you capable of. And I've seen it to be true for many other people. It was definitely true for me. And yeah, that was the most powerful thing I learned about personal finance, about finance in general, is take care of the small things, and be willing to set the big things aside for a little bit, to understand that those small things are worthy.